Hello, good morning. I'm going to be talking about some big things today. Grab a piece of paper and a pen, and let's get into this. I'm going to be talking about 20 years and 20 lessons. Morning. So 20 years ago, in 2000, I moved to London and I went to drama school, and I believe this was very much the beginning of building my personal brand. And it wasn't called a personal brand at that stage. I was just trying to put one foot in front of the other. I wasn't even thinking about making money, actually. I was just starting to find my flow, to find what happens, when you leave home, when you're 18. I hadn't been living my most abundant life up until that point because I'd spent the summer working in a crisp factory, and it was as grim as as it sounds. I used to sometimes be in this bit of the factory called Potato Land, where you used to have to cut the big potatoes in half and take the bad ones out. And I was working opposite a man who was about 196, and he spent the whole time going, "That's a big un, that's a bad un, that's a big un, bad un, big un." And you can imagine after an 8-hour shift that started to grate slightly. So I moved to London and I was like, "Morning, Wendy, how you doing? I've got a voice note for you, it's coming." So I moved down, and I was lucky enough to get a place at one of the most prestigious drama schools. You have a 1 in 20 chance of getting in. And I had all the feels about that because I didn't look typically like your typical actor. I'm a size 10, but I've got boobs and hips and a bum and all the curves. I certainly didn't speak very nicely, and I just wasn't that kind of lovey affected, like, "Hi guys, hi." So I had a bit of an imposter syndrome. It was a bit weird, but very quickly on, I clocked, even though I wasn't calling it a personal brand, that I was like, right, I am here and I need to get moving and shaking, because actually, morning, this is the beginning of my career. And I actually didn't wait for that moment to go, "Now you've graduated, now you turn into the most professional version of yourself." Fortunately, I clocked early on. I was like, all these people might employ me later down the line. And it turns out a lot of them did, and other opportunities came. And yeah, it was a great experience on many levels. It was full on in other ways. In my third year, I got spotted by an agent. In the February, we were due to leave in the September, and I got an agent. And I got 2 jobs back to back. So I actually left early. And I hit the ground running. It was a really great thing. I was employed for the first sort of 6 months of leaving. And then I had to figure it out after that, because I was wandering around Soho with an A to Z. I didn't know what I was doing. I've often said to my parents, "Dad, if you were a rock star, Mum, if you were a supermodel, like, this would have been so much easier." I didn't have any media connections. I felt very much like I was just waiting for the phone to ring. I had an agent, but they would do that, "Darling, like, there's nothing there for you. There's nothing going on." And I was always a bit like, "Come on now, there might be." So I was basically an impatient 21-year-old. Anyway, today I want to tell my story of 20 years and 20 lessons. And this is not just to harp on about my own experience, even though it is my own experience. So there's nothing that I'm going to share where I'm like, "Hang on a minute, Ravi, you've extracted that from a book. That sounds like that you've read that self-development book." No, everything I'm sharing with you, I've done, I've experienced, and it might be useful for you. And if it is, just let me know what you kind of resonate with. It'll be completely confidential, so I want to hold that space for you as well. If you're like, hang about, oh, there's a bit of a light bulb moment. Okay. Number 1, it takes guts to go for your big dream. So whether that is having a complete and utter life-changing moment, to move, to leave a marriage, to change career, to become a mum, even though you said you weren't going to, it takes guts to go for your big dream. And I think what happens is digital marketers out there will be going, I just knew and I had that moment. And I always tell this story. People think when you're up leveling in your business, you're in this mermaid state of like, here we go. And actually you're holding on for dear life and you're getting a really terrible photo like at Alton Towers like this. It's always that. That's how it feels. It feels ugly, it feels tough, it feels hard, and it takes real guts. And one thing I want to say about going for your big dream is most people don't want to do that. Most people want to play small. Everybody pretty much told me before I went and moved to London, I was going to fail. There's no work out there. Only people who are well connected. It's a really hard industry. You can always come back here and get a job in this pub. Like, nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't my dream. So it takes big guts. And if you're feeling all the things when you're going to that next level, when you're making moves, feeling all those feels is completely and utterly normal. And sometimes we can feel that when we're getting those nudges of like, this feels fucking hard, this is challenging me every step of the way, actually it's just you simply moving out of your comfort zone. It's moving into a different gear. And there will be clunky times, you know, like when you're in a car, sometimes you're in second gear and you're like, all right, I've got to go to third now because there's this weird sort of noise and nobody knows where it's coming from. Those are the moments. The second thing, you're going to get a lot of information. Take what you need and ditch the rest. This is perfect for this platform, for books that you have on your bedside table that you've never even read, for things that people say on podcasts or webinars or whatever you've been to, or whatever is in the space, you know, parenting space, career space. When I was at drama school, I got so much information. I thought it would be a university experience. It wasn't. We were in there 9 till 7 and then we had to go home, learn lines, do all the things. It was hardcore. And there were some things that I was like, this is not going to work. Like when we went round Wood Green with masks on, which just sounds really freaky now, going around Wood Green with masks because people were like, this is going to help you find your inner child. I was like, mate, this just does not work for me in any shape or form. So what I want to encourage you to do is whatever noise is going on, and with this training that I'm giving you right now, is take what you need. Take it, sample it, enjoy it, do something with it. Ditch the rest, forget about it. When people start saying like, you can hustle like a rock star, or you need to add this thing into your sales page, if it doesn't feel good, I'm not doing it. Number 3, your job is not to be familiar in your industry. So what we can find sometimes is that we fall into line with what our industry expects. And this has never worked with me for my personal brand. When I show up as an actor, I'm not showing up as an actor of being all dramatic and going, oh my goodness, I need this, I need that. Like, I've learned how to show up as an actor, but someone who is good on the team, who is professional, who gets the job done. Likewise with coaching. Sometimes I do Instagram stories that make people buy my courses in my Jimmy Jams with no bra on. And that's sometimes probably not the most aspirational thing, but equally I need to show that realism. It's part of my personal brand. So if you're tempted to move into life coaching or whatever and go, right, big sky thinking, I'm going to have a big sky and do that. Think about how you can mix it up. You know, when like a brand comes out with a new food product and they cut against what's expected, that's going to be really useful for you. Number 4, some people are not going to be ready for you. Be patient, aka boots. What you might be doing might ruffle a few feathers, might be unexpected, might be unfamiliar, might be uncomfortable for people. And I remember this moment with boots, and you might remember this too. So when I used to go up for commercials, and I still go up for commercials all the time, I was very much like the funny friend, because people were not comfortable with people with ginger hair being attractive. They were like, you can come in, but don't Don't try to be hot. Don't try to be sexy. Like, we just need you to do this. So I would play like the funny friend, daft as a brush. They'd go, let's put some glasses on her. Let's make her hair look really frizzy so we can play into that stereotype. Until Boots came along. Boots, if you're listening, I'm available for the right price. They came along and they were like, we think maybe people with red hair, ginger hair, golden hair, however you like to describe it, maybe they could be attractive. And I don't know if you remember, but suddenly, like, all their Boots optician adverts, they started to have people with red hair. And then we saw this wave of other stuff going commercially. So even though it could have been tempting for me to just go, I've got ginger hair, I will never be seen as attractive, this is just the way that it is, I've got wonky teeth, etc. Sometimes you've just got to hang in there. So even if everything in you, an instinct is saying, make this move in your business, show up in this way, make a homepage that is completely unexpected, even though nobody's done it before, trust that instinct. And sometimes you've got to be patient. Sometimes people will catch up with you eventually. Number 5, be it and show it, don't just tell it. So this has been a theme throughout the years that a lot of people can spend time in this, I'm gonna do this, I'm definitely, this year, yeah, this is my year, this is the thing that's gonna happen. Or I would end up telling somebody at the time when I was training at drama school, people go, oh yeah, my sister's friend's daughter was gonna do that, but in the end she didn't. Or they've got a great voice, they just didn't get the opportunity. And I get there's different privileges, there's different circumstances, like I'm fully aware of all of that sort of stuff. But I tell you what, if you can do it, and sometimes that means just doing it quietly and then let people see it, that's much better than you going, yeah, I'm definitely going to do this. It just becomes kind of chatter and story around things. So if you're tempted to just go around and tell people, like, I'm thinking about launching this, I'm hoping I'm going to do this, just do the thing. Use the energy for that. And then people will catch up. People will be like, how long have you done that for? What's been happening? That's when it gets really exciting. Number 6, I think I'm in order, but I haven't labeled these, but there we go. People will make assumptions about you depending on their perspective. I have really struggled with this over the years about caring about what other people think of me. I grew up in a small village. I went to a school in a small town. It was riddled of gossip, like, oh my God, fucking hell, can you look at her hair? Did you hear what happened last night? She got off with so-and-so. It was all of that. There was none of like, come through and share your gifts with the world. It was keep people small. Do not pass go. Do not rise up. Do not say what you really feel about things. And therefore, I did feel for a long time that because I was ambitious, I was like, oh my God, people are going to think that I'm an awful person. Or because I was ambitious, people are going to think I'm going to be all about the money and I'm going to be a complete arse. Or because I still want to work and I've got 2 children, that people will go, she's a terrible mother. Who does she think she is? All of this sort of stuff. But it's all about them. It's about their perspective. And it's so lovely when... And I'm actually going back to where I grew up next week. And I know people will say, because they've said it in the past, I didn't really like you at school. I didn't like you. I thought you were well annoying. And I was like, but you never had a conversation with me. And you might be thinking, like, she's really annoying right now. Fine, no worries. But people will think what they want to think. And you owe it to yourself to move forward in whatever way that you're going to, because you won't be for everybody. And that would be too much of a task to please everybody, to have people adoring you. Like even Beyonce, and I've never met a person who doesn't really like Beyonce. I'm sure there's some people. I'm sure my dad would be like, why is she dancing in that leotard? Although he might be like, I like that leotard she's wearing. Okay, how can you thrive, not just survive? Oh, where do I start? This is a whole different podcast episode, I believe. I was a starving, not literally, but my mindset was that for so many years, like, I don't mind about money, I'm just grateful to be here. I would lose my mind with joy if somebody would give me a packet of crisps on a set, even though I was going to be there for 4 days and I was doing the work for free. I was in survival mode for so many years, like, please just give me the job, I really hope that I can do this. I undersold myself, I underdelivered, and I see so many business owners doing that right now. Like, shall I just do 4 rounds of this online course for free for people, and then I'll start selling it later down the line? If you can, yes, absolutely. Stay small, my friend. That's what they say. I know. And still, it's something I grapple with, Wendy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not coming out and going, that was 20 years ago and now look at me now. It's not. It really isn't. But this thrive, not survive, I see it as a continuum. So when I'm making decisions, and I did this when I had Luna last year, I was like, is this going to feel like that I'm thriving as a new mum of 2 or just surviving? So that allowed me to make decisions of, do I want 16 people on my sofa the day after I get home from hospital and me making lunch? Where am I falling on that survive to thrive situation? Okay, it's going to take me to that survive bit, not to the thrive bit. So if you can do that with every step of your business, of like, is this going to make me feel really good? Is this going to stop my time with my kids? Or am I going to wake up feeling worried about all the things I have to do in the day, or even go to bed and that's when your head races, all those sorts of things. So thinking about what you need, and this is another question, what do you actually need to thrive? We never ask ourselves these questions, rather than just survive and go along with what's the flow. That so many actors certainly be like, yeah, but you do work for free. That's what we all do for the first 25 years. I was like, yeah, but somebody's getting paid. Anyway, next one. I've lost count of the numbers, so we'll just go with it. The next one, relationships are important. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. We know that they are important. But I did a post about this recently where I said your next client will likely be your current client or your current client's friend. That's really hard to say. And what I mean by that is people sometimes can feel like they're always on the lookout for the next thing, the next person. We've all been to those networking things where people are like, hi, and they're going, okay, great, what do you do? Okay, I'm moving on. And it makes you feel like rubbish. So the more that you can spend actually connecting with people, actually doing what you say that you're going to do, and having your word and your action this close is just going to help you going forward. So even though sometimes the temptation can be, oh gosh, I've got to do this to-do list, morning, I've got to do this to-do list, I've got to wrestle through this, I've got to create this other thing, make sure that your relationships are in place. Because those people who you're working with, who you're delivering a great service to, they're going to be the ones who are going to be talking about you further on. This happened when I worked with stylists for the second time. Was it last year? It was last year. I've no idea what day it is today. It's Friday, by the way, even though my son was like, it's Wednesday. The woman who is my contact at Stylist, who has become a friend, she said to me, you were the first person that I thought of when I knew I was building this panel. That is what you want. These relationships are important. So even though sometimes you're like, ooh, that I've gone the extra mile there, it will all pay off in the end. Those things like thanking somebody for doing that in an email, sending somebody flowers, hooking somebody up. This is, I guess, another additional point, but making sure that you're not working of that mentality of there's only one seat at the table. I will sometimes phone an actor friend of mine going, have you been seen for this? Because actually I think you're better for the role than I am. And those sorts of things, if you're in that place of good karma, it always pay off. Doing what you say you're going to do and being a safe bet. There are some people, people you may know as well, that I've been on panels with, that I've done speaking gigs with, that I've done acting gigs with, and they turn up like, hi, oh my God, hi, I'm so busy, this has happened, the kids are being da-da-da-da-da-da. They come with their own drama. Dawn, hi, how you doing? I'm emailing you later actually, because you bought my business goals course and I'm doing a webinar on Sunday, so I will send you the Zoom link for free. And yes, what you need to know is when you need to bring your drama to the table and when you don't. So being that safe bet, being that person of like, Nikki Raby's just going to show up. She's going to show up on time. She's going to bring energy. It's really weird talking about myself as Nikki Raby, but you know what I'm saying. Like, just do what you say that you're going to do. It's really important. Following on to never believe that you're the most important person there. This has been really key in terms of acting, but also in terms of my coaching clients as well. Sometimes when I've had coach chats, like when people say, right, I'm going to tell you about what you need to do and what you're all about, and they bring all of their stuff to the table. As the recipient, you can feel quite overwhelmed, like, ooh, oh, I don't know. But actually, why was she trying to get me to build this program? Because this doesn't feel good and I'm not sure and it doesn't sit right with me. So if you can step back and just hold that space and not believe that you're the most important person, you know. And sometimes it is weird on set as an actor. You get picked up by a car, you go and sit in a trailer, you have your hair and makeup done, the second AD will be like, they're ready for you now, somebody walks you onto set, they have an umbrella, like it's all really fancy. But my attitude has never been like, hi guys, I'm here. And that would work as well with how you show up on social media. Don't just show up and just say, so I've been really busy and this is what I've done and all the rest of it. What are you doing for other people? How can you support people? How can you help people? I realise the irony of that because I'm wanging on about my own life, but hopefully you're getting some stuff from this. Next, who do you associate yourself with and what does that say about you? Fortunately, I'm in a position now where I get asked to do lots of different things. And there are some situations where I'm like, it's an absolute no, because I don't like the way that this person shows up. They don't do work with integrity. I know that I'm just another person and it's going to be a ball ache to do that situation. Equally, I had a meeting with a speaking agent a couple of years ago. And she spent most of the conversation slagging off her assistant. And I was like, if you're slagging off your assistant, who is your right-hand woman, what are you going to say about me when I don't get the first job that you send me up for? Or like you just don't like what I'm wearing that day. So being really discerning about who's in your company, who is in your corner, who you're rolling with, essentially. It sounds a bit like youth terminology, but you know what I mean. It's really important. And that's not to say, oh, I'm in this hierarchical kind of group, this clique, and I don't talk to people who are this and this. No, that's not the way I roll either. It's about energy, it's about vibe, it's about kindness, it's about, is this person, and I said it on a live or a post the other day, would you want to spend a long haul flight with this person? And I always believe that with every client that I've worked with, mostly. We all know there's a few people but these were people from a long time ago. I would happily do a long haul flight with them, and we would talk about what snacks we're going to have. We would maybe like the same films or not. If we didn't, we'd be like, I'm just going to put my headphones on now, I'm going to leave you to it. You know, when we're flying over Russia, we'll have a chat in 2 hours. All right, the next thing, so what else can you bring to the table? This has been really key, because sometimes what you can bring to to the table is not necessarily what people are expecting, and this is when you can bring a surprise element. So a while ago I did an advert for UNICEF, and they were looking, I'll share it somewhere, you can see it, it's still online. they had a campaign where they were showing the importance of generational wealth and how education and all the rest of it. So I was playing a role at, I think she was 37 and 57, so they like grayed up all my hair and all the rest of it, and the ego in me was like, oh gosh, they're gonna have to work so hard to make me look 57. No, turns out like the makeup artists go, yeah, we're just gonna draw in like that crow's feet a little bit more and you'll be great. Yeah, I could age up really well. But one of the things that happened in that was I had to do a talk because my role was an astrophysicist. Totally bizarre, totally not my character brief in the slightest. And we were filming in Mayfair in the planetarium, and so I was standing in the middle of this. There were seats going all up, they had loads of extras in, the cameras were doing all the different angles, and the director was like, great, can you just talk a little bit about what you know about astrophysics? I was thinking, I know nothing. I mean, I'd done a bit of kind of looking at something. I'd actually read an article in Cosmo that I was like, okay, I can pull out a few facts if I need to. And they were like, and I said, okay. And in my head, I just thought, I can't talk about that. But whilst they're rolling, because they weren't shooting my voice rather, I was like, I can do a 10-minute coaching exercise though. And so I did that. And the director would never have said, oh, we need somebody who's a coach and they can do that. But I tell you what, I had loads of like the camera dudes afterwards like, oh my God, I'm going to think about my goals. Or actually, yeah, I've been thinking about I need to get into shape and I haven't considered that before. So at every step of the way, always think about what can you bring to the table. And bring that element of surprise in, because it's a really beautiful thing where people go, oh, I didn't think that we wanted that. But we absolutely do. And sometimes that will happen with your services and the way that you're creating money. If people keep asking you the same thing, if they're looking for the solution, listen to them. And that's not to say you have to create it, because you'd be like, that just doesn't sit well with me. But listen and think about the different other elements of your personality that you can bring to the table. Okay, next. Oh, bizarrely, just on that point as well, that silly Reels video that I did where I had to do an audition for sitting in a car but dancing full out, you know, the kind of the silly one. I got work from that, bizarrely, not as a dancer, but somebody who wanted help with their content as a coach, because they were like, I need to shake things up. So yeah, again, you never know which bits of your personality are going to be connected. The next, be really boundaried. And I was having this conversation with you, Wendy, the other day of, if you don't mind me sharing this, and obviously I'll find a way of saying it so it feels really good. But we were talking about boundaries, and one of the phrases that was coming up is like, when I work with clients, it's like, I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you. And there is that conversation. I'm never like, hi, I'm your coach and I'm going to be working with you today. Let's start by setting your goal. That's not the vibe that I'm bringing to the table. So on some level, some people, like I always sign my newsletters, big love, and then Nikki, and then a kiss. And if my dad read that, he was like, why are you sending big love to like people you don't know? Because he's of a different era. Thank you, Wendy. It's of a different era. But I know if I show up in the way that I want to, that feels really good, I know that's going to ripple on, and that's going to bring those things to the table. Equally, being boundaried and knowing what I'm available for and what I'm not, what's for sale and what isn't, what's to be shared and what isn't, is equally important as well. So there would be some moments where people go, I really feel like I know you on the podcast, like I know everything about you. You might be watching this, but there is so much stuff that I never ever talk about, that I never show, that I never reveal, because it's not relevant. And also sometimes it's too personal, like I'm not ready to do that. And even if I'm going through an issue or a problem or or a solution at the time. Rarely am I sharing it live. Rarely am I going, hi guys, so this is like day 4 of like feeling terrible or feeling like this. So what I'm able to do sometimes is to contain it, and I can give a shortened version. I was working with a client recently, and I won't say what she was working on, but she was really looking at how she could use her story in her speaking. And we were going through, and she went on and did a TED talk and all the rest of it. And it was really important for her to be boundaried through that, because she has 2 small children, and she has quite a presence on the internet. And for that, it was about really fine-tuning what her personal brand was and how she was showing up, but still felt like she could share and she could be open and people could connect with her. But she wasn't selling her soul. She wasn't doing like a Piers Morgan life stories, because sometimes you can feel like you're sharing all the things, but people are not in the position to be able to hold that space, and neither should it be their responsibility as well. So if you're coming from that expert point of view, or if you're showing up, you have to know where the boundary lies and what it's all about. Okay, don't wing it because it's only a little thing. Ooh, this has been an interesting one, and I see it all the time, where people will say, oh, it's just a free session that I'm doing with somebody, or it's just a little thing, or nobody will ever see it anyway, or it's just another casting, or it's just like a get together, I don't know if I need to be there. And what they end up doing is winging it, because they're playing in the energy of it's just a little thing. I tell you what, if you can show up as that full version of yourself, so whether you're doing a free discovery call, whether you're going for a meeting and you don't know whether you're going to get it, be good every single time, because if it's not that thing, it will be something else. And what people can do, and I see it time and time again, where they'll turn up for a casting and they're late because they're like, oh, it's not really the ideal casting for me, like I don't really play roles like this, and they come with all that come with all that negativity and that energy. But I tell you what, you never know who's watching, you never know who's suddenly going to drop out and they need you to come through. That's been so often, like sometimes as an actor, on a commercial, for example, you can be hired as a non-speaking part. But I tell you what, sometimes on set, last minute, the person who has the speaking part, it's not going to work, or they need to bring in another line because something's happening. If I'd shown up and gone, oh, I'm just not really doing a speaking part, so I'm just going to be really grumpy all day and do all of this, be ready for the opportunity. Be ready to step up whenever you need it. If you're doing free work, and again, there's work around this of making sure that it's really aligned, show up. Give everything you've got, because you never know who's watching or what's going on. And again, that's another sort of part to that, is so often my work has come from the most weird and wonderful, crazy places, conversations. And sometimes people are like, I never forgot that thing that you said to me in 2008. And I was like, what did I say? Had I had a few wines? I mean, if you can imagine the energy I give here, this is why I don't drink very often, because I'm like, bah, 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 bah. Okay, next. Listen to your instinct. Oh my God. If something, what did Sophie? If your instinct is telling you something, leave the room, sign the thing, get the hell out of there. Don't work with this person. This is going to be hard work. Your instinct knows 99% of the time. Trust it. Listen to it. Explore it. Go deeper. Mostly it won't let you down. When I did a casting in my early 20s, it was weird because there were a lot of actors there, but it was in this man's house in West London, and I was reading the script, and then he said, how would you feel about full frontal nudity? I was like, oh wow, he went straight in there. Good. And I said, oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know how I feel about that because it's not in the script. And my instinct was like, Raby, get the out of there. Do not be hanging around with people who want to have conversations about full frontal nudity when it's not in the script. Trust your instinct. It will tell you everything. And sometimes that thing of like, if it feels like it's going to be really hard work, and I don't mean hard work in like the stretching, fulfilling, like, I'm moving into my comfort zone, out of my comfort zone type situation. I mean, you know, you're going to get those phone calls, you're going to get the thing, it's going to be full on. Trust your instinct. Be who you are in life. I think this is really important. I would like to consider myself a kind person, somebody who is flexible, somebody who listens, somebody who understands and can have empathy. So if somebody needs to move their time because suddenly they've had to take their kid to hospital, I will move the time. Like, it's those things where you have to have boundaries and T's and C's and all the rest of it in your business. But sometimes life gets in the way. Sometimes things happen. So be that person. Be understanding. Don't go, hi guys, sorry. It's like with emails. Don't just do one-line emails that just feel really weird and cold because that's not who you are in life. I often do voice notes because it can bring a different sort of nuance to what I'm sharing. It's really important, especially if you're building a personal brand. Be open and closed to direction. So some of the growth that I've done in terms of my personal brand is because I've listened to direction. Have a think about this. What do you reckon about this? I feel like there's more here. Could you explore this? I've had so many coaches, mentors, people I've met, people I haven't, people who have indirectly or directly given me the most amazing direction. And that has been a wonderful thing and so needed because it's opened up that space for what is possible. Because remember, 20 years ago, I was that person who had never met anybody who'd ever earned any money from acting. And like, I didn't know anybody at all who went for what they really wanted to do. A few people, but certainly not in the creative sphere. Okay, I'm wrapping up now because I'm losing my words. Okay, but being open to that direction is so good. We need these stories. I was saying this to a client earlier. At this time, people are going, I'm going to get off the bus, I'm going to get off the train, I've got to stop my business, I've got to close this, the world's ending, da 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 da. But where are the people who are going to make you feel good? Where's the positivity in that? What do you need to do to keep yourself in the game, to keep yourself topped up? And I know that it can feel really heavy. Certainly over the last 6 months, there have been times where I've been like, this feels really tough. So when I have that, I'm like, okay, how can I make myself feel a tiny bit better? The reason that I say close to direction is it's going to be really important as well. Whether that's being close to direction in terms of what other people in your industry are doing. People are telling you you just need to do these 7 things that are going to change everything. Or sometimes people in the pub are going to go, can you make any money from that? I heard people who sell the internet are scumbags. Is that what you are? Is that who you want to be, Nikki? You're a scumbag selling things on the internet. Like, who asked you, mate? Who asked you? So going back to my earlier point, some people are not going to get it. They're not going to get it. It's not up to you to convince them. You can just go, fine, just show them. Send them a link. Send them the link to the thing that you've done. Send them a link to a client testimonial that you've been paid to do this. So know when you're available for feedback, you're open, and when you're closed. 2 more things. Keep your eye on the ball, but be in the present moment. Last week, I had a week off, and it was amazing. It was much needed because I felt like I needed to work through some stuff in my head. Like, what am I doing? The big questions. What am I doing? What am I here for? What is actually my big picture? If I wasn't scared or terrified or playing small, what would I do? What would this personal brand look like? Where would I go next? And I needed that time. I needed that time away from our 4 walls that we've been living in. And I needed that time. So I did a lot of future focused work of like where I want to take things, what's exciting me, what would I do in an ideal situation. But equally, I have to keep my head in the present moment as well. Because I could say, I want to build a whatever. Well, my kids are 4 and 1 at this moment. And there'll be so many people who'd be like, you need to build this robust program and do this and do that. My kids are 4 and 1. It doesn't feel like a right fit for me. So always have the two things juggling alongside each other. Keep your eye on where you're going, because equally if you're too in the present, you're going to be just in to-do lists. You're just going to be ticking off tasks, and quite often those tasks will be the easy things and they're not taking you to where you need to get to. And if you're too future focused, you're just going to be overwhelmed, because you're like, how am I ever going to have 9 homes? Like, this just doesn't even feel possible. The two can work alongside each other. It's interesting when you read your own writing. Okay, I know what I'm saying. I'm going to finish with a log flume analogy. If you can picture a log flume in your head, there are different stages of the log flume. And for a lot of it, you are going around this smooth bit. You're waving, you might see a member of your family, they've got the camera and the coats, and then you're like, oh, we can see the thing over there, that's nice. And you're all looking at each other like, yeah, we're on this ride, we're having a nice time. But in the back of your head, you know the drop is coming. You know it's coming. And there gets to a point where I'm like, the quicker we can get on this moment where you're like, you know, when you're like, when's the drop coming? When's it coming? Oh, and sometimes there's a false alarm one, isn't there? There's the one where you go like this, and then you can feel it kind of teetering, and you're like, just get on with it. Let's do it. But I tell you what, once you've gone down that log flume, if you have that sensation, just go with me for a while, you might have that moment of expansion, momentum, whoosh, I've done that, I can do anything, let's go, oh, there's my friend, da-da-da-da-da. And you'll be in that thing. The more that you can do that in your business, in your personal brand, where you're like, whoosh, I'm on the log flume, I'm going for it, I've built momentum, I'm shit scared, but I've done it and I'm moving forward, the better it will be. Because once you've done one thing, you'll be like, I am going on that roller coaster now with my feet dangling, with my arms out to the side. I do not give a monkey's. Like, I'm doing it. I'm not scared anymore because I've done that thing. And this is where you want to get to in terms of scaring yourself a bit, because you can be scared and excited. You can be fearful but exhilarated. The two can run alongside each other. But what most people want to do, and maybe this is you, certainly been me, is they want to coast around. They want to be in the log flume like, I'm building a business, I'm doing all the things, I'm showing up, I'm here on the log flume and I'm waving, but they're not in momentum. They're not going up to the top and feeling that whoosh and going with it, because that's the scary bit. That's the moment where things are going to open up. So that's my task for you today. How can you get on that log flume and into that whoosh moment and move forward? If you've got any questions, let me know, or any thoughts or any things that you're going to do from this right now. I am going to save this on IGTV, so if you don't want me to mention your name, I'm happy not to do so. How can I help you further? I am doing a Jam and Plan Day on Monday. This is the 4th one I've done. It's 4 sessions. You then get a week of email support, so or WhatsApp or things like that. So if you're like, oh my goodness, I always do these courses, or I always do these things and I don't do them, I just write them in the notebook and then I never move, I'm there the next day going, hiya, what are we doing? What do you want to do this week? What were the things that are going to be most useful? So if you're interested, do come along. It's nikkieraby.com/jam and plan live. What else can I tell you? So there were 20 things, 20 moves that I've made. And we'll see what the next ones are, because I know there's more moves coming. And one final thing I want to share, which I shared on a post earlier, is say what you're available for. Say it out loud, even if you just say it to yourself in the shower alone. But I always seem to have a child who ends up like, Luna's always like, oh yeah, hi, I'll try and get in that, or I'll lick the toilet seat, or whatever she wants to do, something grim. She's just in that exploring stage. One of the takeaways I came away from my holiday was, I was like, what am I available for? What do I want to bring into this next chapter? And I tell you what, by Wednesday, 2 brand new things came in that were aligned with what I'm available for, with what I want. So that's the question that I want to leave you with. Any DMs, any thoughts, message me. If you want to ask about Jam and Plan, if you want to find out who other people are who have done it, you can do that. There's been so many different people actually, social media strategists, app developments, interior designers, fitness trainers, photographers, empowerment coaches, small business owners, product developers, like all kinds of things. So if it sounds like, yeah, I actually need to do this now, I need to not be in like fear, not going, things aren't happening in my business, maybe this is it for me, like this could be absolutely perfect for you. Thank you so much, Nikki, for doing this on IG2. It's such a great, yes, absolutely. Tidy the bedroom and get dressed without listening. Lovely, Wendy. This is the thing. And also, another thing I want to say about absorbing information, even though on Jam and Plan Live it works really well where people are present and showing up, sometimes you need to do the online course or absorb the information when you have all the distractions. So I, like with my business goals course thing, which is half price at the moment if you want to get it, I encourage people to listen to it. Oh, thank you, Sarah. That I say, listen to it whilst you're doing something else, like you're walking the dog, like you're cooking the dinner. Because that pressure sometimes of going, right, in this next hour, I need to sort out my business and my brand, and I need to make the right decisions for the next 5 years. It's too much pressure. So take that pressure off. Get yourself into that position of finding the ideas, of finding that flow. And my ideas never come when I'm sitting at my desk. Rarely do they. I wrote these 20 bullet points down when I got back from my run yesterday, because I was thinking about it. I was like, what's been happening? And I actually ran past my old drama school. So yeah, it's good to mix things up. So you're working in a cafe, it's heaven. Yes, yeah, mix it up. And one final thing, I know I keep saying this, please don't adhere to what society wants you to do. Now I'm a mum, I'm this. Or there's a pandemic, so I shouldn't be selling. This is happening, so I have to put my business on hold. Of course, there are nuances. There are going to be tweaks that you're going to need. But please, whatever happens, do not give up on your dreams. I mean that very seriously. Do not give up on your vision, because so many people will want you to do that. So many people, and I think this is another addition, will be frustrated that you're going for it, that you will be playing big, because they won't, and they won't want to do that. And yeah, but you know inside what you're supposed to do. I'm going to leave it there. I almost had a cry then. I'm going to leave it there. Have you got any questions before I go? If you haven't, that's all right as well. I'm going to record this as a podcast and then I'll save it on there. This would be a lovely thing. If you've got stuff from this, will you share it in your stories, please, and tag me? Because I would like to share this with more people who might find it useful. And again, this is actually the final thing. 3 of these things that I've shared of the 20, you may only resonate with 3 of them. Great, do that. Do not go, oh gosh, I've got to write down all the 20 things that Nikki said now. No. Just do 3. Ditch the rest. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I was talking about or wanging on about. If it doesn't resonate, doesn't matter. Just do the 3 things. Do them brilliantly. Do them today. All right, I'm going to go. Lots of love. Bye, everyone.